on this computer. Okay. Good morning, Ryan Delane. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Peter. I'm well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm excited and very happy to have you. And I'm looking forward to, I think, a real stimulating learning session, because I don't always have the opportunity to meet with people like yourself from the business profit world. You know, it's more of experience with nonprofits. So I'm very excited. I'd like to say a little bit to those of you who are watching, a little bit about Ryan Delane and his business. It's InterFanatic. He's the owner of InterFanatic Digital Marketing. And they've been doing websites and digital marketing for over 20 years. Lots of expertise, lots of experience. And I've always been so impressed with the quality and comprehensiveness of his work and the work of his company. I'm Peter Getoff.
Thank you. Feelings are mutual.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm Peter Getoff, MA, MSW, LCSW. My business is the Human Equation, and I offer a problem-solving experience for nonprofit organizations, for individuals, for groups that I feel is a one-of-a-kind experience. I have a unique blend of training and experience in psychology and social work and organizational development. And I have been in this world doing this, working with nonprofits in a management level and problem solving with folks in all different levels for over 35 years. And when Mr. Delane and Ryan and I were talking and preparing for this interview, we came up with a subject that we both were very, mutually excited about, in terms of what we feel is a real cogent, a real relevant question, and especially these days. And that is, how does one who is committed to their business, who is involved with their business, growing their business, at the same time, how do you find time? How does one find time to devote to a cause, like a social cause that they are passionate about, and at the same time, maintain that work-life balance that it's become a little bit of a cliche, but there's no other way to say it, the work-life balance. And in this case, how one creates time and devotes time to that, being involved in some social cause, and at the same time, manage your business. So Ryan, where are you at in terms of that equation? Where are you at with that? Are you at the beginning of it? Are you trying to figure out how to do it, or you feel like you've got some solution, or where are you at with that equation, sir?
Peter, I've always struggled with work-life balance. I found that I have an immense capacity for work. When I am motivated and intrigued by what I'm doing, I can work nonstop, and I enjoy it, and it feels good. But on the other hand, sometimes you let other parts of life slip away. It's easy to get so focused. And so, the whole work-life balance thing, because of what's going on with the pandemic in 2021, everybody's readjusting to a new environment, new experiences, and how to bring balance to their work and life. And businesses are finding that people are much happier working from home. And so they're losing some of that interactivity that comes from working in an office environment, and everybody's trying to adjust to it. So as we make these adjustments, I think it's really important to try to focus on what's important. Some people might ask the question, what do you want to be remembered for? What do you want to be known for? And for some people, there are causes that they want to be involved in, whether it be politics or social or medical, whatever that is. There are different kind of causes that people want to be involved in, and they haven't dedicated their life to the not-for-profit world like you have. And so, what can I do as a modest businessman, besides donating? You know, anybody can donate, and I know every dollar helps. And that's all very important. But what can we do besides that, and how can we influence our world positively outside of our work, or maybe with our work in ways that we haven't thought about? So this is something that I've thought about a lot, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts, because you have a whole different perspective on the not-for-profit world than I do.
Yeah.
So you know how to affect change and what makes a real impact besides donation. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts about this too. I
Sure.
think it's going to be a good conversation.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Ryan. And there are different sets or subsets of people related to addressing this question. And I'm going to include the folks that do feel a commitment or want to make a commitment, or their heart is in that place as far as social actions, social problems, world problems, whatever level they are. They can be neighborhood, community, city, state, county, federal. They can be all different levels. So I'm going to address those folks that would fall within that group. So as I was listening to you, to frame the issues and the question, here are some associations that I had. One is, and you've heard, some of this won't be new to you, Ryan. It's going to feel familiar and comfortable. And that is, we're talking about a subjective piece, and that is passion and altruism. We're also talking about an objective piece. And I don't want to sound too clinical about this, but in terms of trying to be systematic, trying to be somewhat systematic as far as like making a plan, is like, how will I make my choice of what I want to put energy into, and how do I want to divvy up my time? And I'm thinking about a presentation training that I did a few months ago that you supported me with, thank you, on time management, but time management integrated with a mindfulness perspective. So my first recommendation would be, it's sort of like twofold. It's systematic as far as even to try to answer this problem, you have to set aside some time. And of course, I'm talking to myself, I'm talking to you, Ryan, I'm talking to our audience. You have to set aside some time, as far as like, this is a priority. I want to take a look at where my life is at in terms of energy for social, in terms of social causes. And I want to take a look, and do I want to put in more time? Do I want to do a different cause or whatever? To do that, and please excuse my, sometimes my humor can be a little off, but it's like, that's how I think. One of the things that makes me unique. It's not 5 minutes when you're in the bathroom. Really, it's not. It's not 10 minutes when you're eating breakfast. It's setting aside time, everyone. Deciding this Saturday, I'm going to go to the park, I'm going to sit at the table, and I'm going to take an hour. I'm going to bring use computer or yellow pad, and I'm just going to kind of free associate, or like, what are all the things that I have felt like heartfelt causes, things I want to do something about, and I'm not, or maybe I'm doing partly, something I want to do something about, a change I want to try to make in the world. and you making time to make that list, making time to make that list. That's one of the first things. Ryan, what's your reaction to that? What are your
I
thoughts
have
about
so
that?
many thoughts.
Do you really?
I do. I have so many thoughts. So this actually just came up today. I'm a little bit ADHD, and one of the ways that I've always compensated for that is by writing down lists. And it drives some people nuts, but I can definitely, I don't know if it's my training when in college I trained as an engineer. I always had kind of a scientific mind. I always was really into the space program and stuff like that. So I
Really?
always apply science to these things that come up. And so I was having a conversation with my wife this morning about how do I want to spend my birthday this year. And I
Hmm.
have a few choices, and I had a gut feeling for what I wanted to do, but I wanted to verify that gut feeling. So I created a list and I went through the mindfulness exercise that I do every single day. And I don't share this information with everybody, but it's valuable, so maybe I should. So every morning I try to, or evening, or both, I try to clear my mind, and usually it takes me between 5 and 20 minutes. It just depends how cluttered my mind is. And I count to 11. And I count to 11 because it's a handy number, and because when I started this exercise, I was thinking about Apollo 11. So I used the number 11. And 11 things in, I try to clear my mind and focus on that number, and each number represents something. One is me, represents me. So that's priority one. Always look out for yourself. That's number one. Number two is my wife, my partner. We're a pair, we're a couple. So I always think of her next. Then I think of my folks, my family, as number three, and then number four is my friends. And beyond that, I start to think of the other things, the work, the causes, whatever else it is that's the priority to me. And right now it's been work. So as part of number one, I then further break this down. This is how I overanalyze everything, Peter. You're about to go down a crazy deep maze.
Ryan, it's
So
okay. We all have our ways. We all have our ways. This is wonderful, and I'm learning some things from you. So please continue to share with us. This is great. Go ahead.
right. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So
Sure, of
number
course.
one, the number one priority is me. So how do I think of myself? And I'm always thinking about, okay, what do I need to focus on, and where have I had some success? So I can celebrate those successes, and then where have I had failures? What do I need to focus on to make sure that I improve in that? So I break down number one into body, spirit, mind, and I break down body into diet and exercise, to spirit into creation and experience, and mind into equity and wisdom. And so that's what I did with this birthday. I listed all the birthdays and I said, okay, what do I really want to do? I was kind of struggling. I said, I think I want to do this one, but this one sounds good and this one sounds good. So I'll break them out. I'll break them into body, spirit, mind, and I'll score them. And then I'll at least understand my mental process, where I got this gut reaction from. So I did that. I assigned scores for diet, exercise, for creation experience, and for equity and wisdom. And by the way, when I say equity, I'm referring to how much am I putting into the world versus how much I'm getting back. I know there are many definitions, but that's the one I'm using. And I ended up coming back to my gut reaction, which was, yeah, this is the thing that I think I want to do. And now I can quantify it. I can look at it and I can say, oh, well, yeah, this had a much higher score for this and this. And then I could potentially, if I wanted to, I'm not going to, but I'm just saying this exercise, for the value of this exercise, I could adjustments to the plans to those other things to make them more reactive to the parts where the score is lowest. so that I could choose something different that I thought
So
everybody else
Ryan,
would.
Ryan, this is an amazing, an amazing, intense, comprehensive process. And you know, I wish we had time to hear about the whole
Sorry,
process
right.
for you.
I'm rambling.
It's okay.
Please go on.
But let me help.
This is how you figure out the causes you want to be a part of, right?
Right. So let me take you to. So let me take you to for purposes of our discussion here, in that 1 to 11 list. So is there a number on there that represents like thinking about the world and what I want, what I would like to be trying to change about the world, like the big picture, you know, it's like the big picture, like this is not the big picture, but this is what my goal is for the month, and then like, what am I going to do about it today? Is there a number in that relates to that, Ryan? Oh, frozen.
Focused
You
on
froze
myself.
for a minute. Go ahead.
I'm a little more focused on myself and my business and my customers and my family and my friends, and that's a problem, right? I was thinking about this. That's a problem. To be a proactive member of society, you have to engage. You have to get involved in these other things, and I've always tried to work causes. I'm doing a better job of it now than I ever have been, but I've always tried to work causes into business, and there are so many ways to do that. But right now, that is not a priority list. That priority comes as part of the other businesses and other priorities that I look at.
So let me take off with that one, okay? Just for the sake of kind of sort of including your paradigm and also and getting to some other aspects of this. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, Ryan, everyone else, let's say Ryan, on Ryan's 1 to 11 list, number 5, Ryan decides that number 5 is, okay, where am I at with this particular, you know, whatever the cause is that he's selected. So I'm going to go back behind that a little bit. So there you are, you know, you're sitting on the park, the picnic table, and where you want to go back to, because you eventually will want to go to that place in terms of like more systematic, in terms of on the daily basis, where am I at with it, that Ryan has suggested to us. But where you want to get back to is kind of more of sort of a mindfulness, sort of free association, and don't censor yourself. You just make a list of what are the kind of things that turn, you know, no matter if they make sense or not, or other people approve of them, whatever it is. Like, I mean, I could come up with a million because that's part of how I operate. But, you know, whether it's like, oh, the town that I live in, do we have a no-kill shelter? Maybe I don't believe in kill shelters. Maybe I think maybe I want to find that out. Or where is our nearest recycling facility? Do we have one? How far do people have to drive? Or, you know, there's been a tremendous increase in the homeless, and I'm seeing people living in tents down the block, and I have mixed feelings about that in terms of like, you know, if that's not the place for them to be, but is there a better place? And anyway, making that kind of a list, and then kind of querying yourself on like, well, what are like the top 3 that I have passion about? So you don't have to make the decision right there. Don't have to put pressure. It's like, I've got to choose it. So then you have that list. Then you go to what extent in my current life am I involved with any of this, or is it conducive to it? I mean, you know, in terms of your business, like me working in a nonprofit, when I've worked in nonprofits as an employee, I mean, I worked in I was the clinical director at a homeless shelter on Skid Row. So for me, it's like I was totally immersed that was my involvement. I didn't, that was my level. And I didn't even have to ask, it's like, but myself until at some point, do I want to keep doing this? Am I getting burned out? Do I want to turn to something else? But so you just sort of like, am I involved with any of this right now? And I don't real, or is what the work I'm doing conducive to it or not? Then the third thing you go to has to do with time. And we have to be honest with ourselves, because maybe how you start is one little step for Ryan. I'm saying this in a good one little step, because I know you can write one little step for mankind. One little step from, but really one little step for me, one little step for my family in terms of us being involved. I could come up with, let me give you an example. So it can range all the way. Here I am. I was working, my full-time job was working with the homeless on Skid Row. At another end of it, I know people who have put together at Christmas care packages with blankets and shoes and underwear and toilet paper. And they would go to the homeless encampment and they would give these bags to people there. And that's what worked for them at that time. And remember, it's what works for you at the time. People are going to have feelings and reactions. You should be doing more. You should be doing less. It starts out with you getting centered in yourself in terms of what feels right for me. Now, of course, you can check with check if you're, check with your wife or your husband or whatever, in terms of getting some honest feedback from them or your therapist or somebody you really trust to not put their judgment all on you, but to, be somewhat objective with you. So there's that whole range. So it's like we're on, and I don't mean to overwhelm you with lists, but it is like 3 different columns. So it's the column, the passion. It's the column, like what makes it, is this totally divorced from anything I'm doing? Or is it something that maybe it'd be efficient I can work it out from my business? And then the third list is, how much do I want to devote to this? How much can I start? Like maybe this first month, I'm just going to spend an hour each week making phone calls to find out how the recycling is set up in my town. Or I'm gonna make phone calls in terms of children, what kind of services we have for foster, whatever. I'm going to make an hour's worth of phone calls, and that's what you do for this month. And then you can revisit it there in the park, or you can take a half an hour someplace and you say, okay, well, how is this going? Whatever. So it's melding, like so many things that we do in life, you're relating to, Ryan, like subjective passion, feelings with being systematic, being planful, having objectivity around that. Is that helpful to you? How is that for you, Ryan? Where does that kind of sort of approach work for you?
That's very helpful. So, when we decided on this topic to discuss, I focused on it, and I focused on your column number 2, which is, what can I do? Where can I be most effective? Right? What makes sense to me right now?
Yes.
And there are so many ways to get involved. Once you've identified the causes that you want to get involved with, then you need to identify your options for getting involved with them.
That's correct.
It could be something as simple as when you invoice a customer, you give them an option to make a $5 donation to whatever cause that you're interested, or whatever cause you're interested in. So they don't have to choose one. They can choose a few. If you have an e-commerce business, which is something I deal with a lot, I have a lot of customers who run online stores. So do you want to give your customers an option to make a donation at time of checkout? Not everybody says yes. A lot of people say no, but if it's $1 or $5, whatever it is, a reasonable part of the checkout experience, you make it easy for them, and all of a sudden you're doing something good for your cause, and that doesn't necessarily require a ton of extra work, right? You have somebody like me work it into your invoice system, or you just do it manually yourself. If I were to do it, I would have a few choices of causes, and then I would choose to match whatever donations went against it. So that for me would be the way I would want to handle it. But there's more to it than that. I feel like there's real value in business to this. And it's not just blowing your own horn and saying, look at me, how good I am. People genuinely want to get involved in the causes they care about.
Yes.
And they want to have the ability to do that. And that could be your employees, that could be your customers, and that can be you and everything that goes into your business. So I think businesses are finding it's a lot more, and businesses are finding it a lot more valuable now to be involved in causes, because there are a lot of younger employees that want to be involved in causes.
Yes.
And they may make their job decision, whichever job they take or whichever job they go out for hardest for, may have something to do with, are they aligned with my values? Are they aligned with the causes that I want to impact? So that can be important for employees. It's also very important, and we see it all the time, especially it's Olympics right now, but you see it all the time on television and commercials. Big companies are making donations to causes, and if they present that information in the right way, it's not, look how great we are. It's, look, you can be involved too.
That's right.
You can be a part of this cause. And for me, that's a really important aspect of my business. It's not only choosing my customers that are most involved in the causes that I want to get involved in. It's also helping them make a greater impact in the causes they want to be a part of.
Yeah. That's a great point. And and that reminds that gets me into column number 4.
Okay.
That's a great point. And that is looking at what can I concretely do in my business, and or in my to what extent in my business, to what extent in my personal life do I want to involve others or the work that I'm doing in the particular cause. So, for example, you mentioned, I love some of the examples. So let's talk about business. And I'm not an expert on this. I mean, because I'm not in a marketing promotion kind of background. I've certainly done it. So I can't think of everything. But so let me bring dovetail with some of the things that you mentioned, Ryan. Number 1, okay, so business. A typical is that you go to supermarket and you can give $1. You want to give $1 or $5 or $7 for the children's fund, whatever. So you can have in your business with your clients in terms of, I don't know, it's like, there's would you like to donate $1? We're asking everyone, along with your monthly fee that I'm working, and $1 is going to go to this or whatever. So that's 1. 2, as you the whole thing with pro bono or sliding scale or whatever, there are people, and certainly in my a profession that I was in, which is part of my business, if you're doing psychotherapy, consultation, coaching, you reserve a slot for a client who is either going to be, they won't be paying, or it'll be far lower than what you usually charge. And you make a commitment to that. That's it. You reserve that. Um, of course, people in business that are involved with this is a bigger, but the way one of the ways they do it, they decide that they're going to join a nonprofit board of directors. It's of course it's not the kind of board in a corporation where you're getting paid 50,000 for a seat to sit on there. And it can be work and it can be some hard work, but they join as far as giving back and giving, they join a nonprofit board. So on and on and on and on. And so you can think about in that column 4, like what makes sense for me in terms of what I want to start with. Now,
Yeah,
go
I'm
ahead.
taking down notes. You mentioned joining a board, and that's not something I had thought about. Can we revisit your second point quickly?
Please.
So there was you made a point there, and I had a thought on it, and it's escaped me. So tell me again what you just told me. Before joining a board.
Oh, you mean what an idea? It was an example of something you could do, or it was like, if you're going to do it, that a nonprofit board will be hard work and no remuneration?
No. Oh, no, that's right. So reserving a slot for a not-for-profit or for a cause that you charge less for.
That's correct.
So I just wanted to make this point briefly. When I feel I don't have enough work, and we all go through these lulls. There are times when you're crazy busy, and there are times when you have a little bit of extra time, and you've taken the time for yourself to make yourself right. You still feel you want to give back more. I always look to not-for-profits. There are a number of places where not-for-profits are looking to hire free or inexpensive help. So I go there,
really,
and I find projects and I apply to them. And it's great for businesses that are just starting out, that don't have enough customers.
That's right.
It's great for businesses that are going through a lull or a major change. You're having trouble adjusting to a massive change in the market. It's an opportunity to keep sharp at your craft. And yes, you generally have to charge less or almost nothing, whatever it is, pro bono, but you're involved. And for me, it's as much a karma thing as it is staying sharp on your business. If you can find a way to give to something, it will come back to you. That's my firm belief.
Oh, that touches me, and that's wonderful to hear you say that. And I feel like with our interview here, our meeting here, this is kind of this could be we could have continued meetings and interviews around this. As far as like we can check in with Ryan. Where are you at? And where have been some sticky spots? And where has it gone more smoothly as far as this whole commitment and the whole equation as far as getting involved and helping change the world on some level. But I think go ahead.
That brings me back to one more point, Peter.
Please.
Which is from a business perspective, when you do these things, when you make these donations, when you make these changes to your business, when you talk about what you're doing in your marketing and material, in your blogs and your ads, you talk to your customers, you talk to your employees. I think it's really important to track the results because it gives you something tangible to come back to. In my business, you always track results because you're interested in the bottom line. But when it comes to causes, the bottom line, yes, of course, is important for them, but it also gives you feedback to know where you feel you're having an impact. And I feel like that's a really important piece to it. Not only setting aside the time to do it and then doing it, but then taking some time to reflect on it and see where you've actually had a positive impact. How can you do more? What should you spend less time on? And what's really been effective in what you've been doing?
That's a great point. That's a critical point. And I so appreciate you bringing that up. And I certainly, I think about it, but not in terms of giving your background and how your mind works. Thank you for bringing us to that. And I want to address that. And then I wanted to make kind of more of a global comment, and then anything else that you'd like to share. So yeah, the assessment of the impact in terms of the results of what we do in this regard, what actions we're taking, what effects and whatever. And we lose sight of that sometimes, and we don't do that. And that's where we need to be kind of get out of some of the softer sort of areas of this, the softer thinking, and get into some more, just a little bit harder in terms of like, okay, let's take an honest kind of analytical look and let's see if we can come up with some measures. And that sometimes is a challenge. Let's come up with some measures in terms of, well, what exactly did my actions or other people related to my business, what impact did we have? What impact are we having? So that is a terrific, not an easy one, but that's terrific, and it's so relevant. So folks, what I'm realizing as we've gone through this really stimulating, exciting conversation is what I want to note is this. Yeah, I believe, yes, I don't know about other countries, but in this country, overall, I believe that we do have a giving, altruistic, philanthropic spirit. And we've had it since the country started, without getting too la-di-da about this. But there's things that distract us, that get in the way. As you know, those of you students of history, you know that there used to be, but it's changed. Like there used to be institutional like mechanisms in the community that in some ways made it, if you wanted to give and help, like the local church, the local church and churches in terms of, in a small town, and somebody's in need, it's like, that's how you could funnel it through. But yeah, that's changed. I also want to say this. Whatever you do, it can be so important and make such a difference, even if it's not on a smaller level, on your level and not on the corporate level. Because I want to share something with you. They've been doing research, keeping data for 50 years, 70 years on the philanthropic, how much money is contributed. I did a master's thesis on this a long time ago. What is contributed by business, especially corporations, in terms of percentage of their profits? It would surprise you in terms of how much it is, because it's in the billions, but it also would surprise you in terms of what a small percentage it is of profits in this country. And I'm not criticizing, putting down. What I'm saying that to make a point is like, yeah, we can depend, it's like, if you say, well, they're going to take care of it, the big guy, whatever, the corporations, the agencies that advertise for the Olympic, yeah. But, we don't have to. I think it's so important, and it can be so rewarding if we do our part too. Starting at the, way lower down on the ladder. So there is that piece in terms of the big boys but it's by a long shot, it's not sufficient. Because look at all the stuff that's unresolved that we have to address. So I just wanted to make that point. Ryan, I'm gonna, let you finish here, and then I'll wrap up with a little tagline. But what else would you like to say, whether it's that point or any other aspects of this?
So one of the causes that I'm really interested in these days, and it was brought about by the political upheaval of the last 5 or 10 years, is one that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is big on this. His motto is Make a friend that doesn't look like you.
Wow.
And I think that's a really important cause. And his, it's not really a logo, but his image that goes with that is a picture of him, this gigantic, tall, kind of lanky, glass wearing, goofy guy, sitting with Bruce Lee, this badass kung fu master, right? They don't look anything like each other, but they made friends and they were able to connect and learn from each other. And I'm taking a different tact on that. I'm taking a slightly different perspective, which is make a friend who doesn't think like you. In this
What a great
age of
idea.
information spewed at us, nobody wants to be told what to think. Nobody wants to believe that they're being influenced what to think. And yet we all are. So if you can reach out and talk to somebody who thinks about situations differently than you can learn so much from them. And that's, for me, Peter, you and I think a lot alike about a lot of things. But even here, we came at an issue from two completely different perspectives.
Yes.
And I feel we learned a lot from each other in doing it.
Yes.
And so I feel it's really important to make a friend who doesn't think like you. And I think we demonstrated the value of that today. And it's something that I want to continue to do.
Yeah.
So thank you for this. I thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, you're so welcome. What an inspirational message that is. And it just naturally blends in with what we've been talking about, because often being altruistic, helping, being of service takes us into a land, takes us into an environment where it's somebody who doesn't look like us, or somebody who doesn't think like us, or certainly somebody who has a very, very different background. So we'll talk more about that off camera, because, well, I have so much respect for him, and I have to admit, I haven't read any of his books, and I think I'd like to get one of his books, but that's an aside. So that was, what fun that was, and how educational that was for me. And I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Ryan Delane.
Well, that's the thing. Here's the thing, Peter. You've got 35 years in the not-for-profit world. I'll never have that. And I have 20 years in the digital marketing world. You're probably,
and I'll never have that.
Right. How great was it that we were able to come together and learn something?
What
Go ahead. Sorry.
What a great bridge. What a great bridge. I see it's like we're at the middle of the bridge and we're giving each other a hug. Really, we crossed that bridge and we're right there. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. So Ryan Delane with Interfanatic Digital Marketing. And you see that Ryan's business, which is so successful and so helpful, but it's operated that this fellow who has such a great heart and soul. So thank you. And Peter Getoff with The Human Equation. I help you solve problems in a way that you have never met before, that way, based on my wisdom, based on my experience. Problems, whether it's management consulting, whether it's coaching, training, we can solve the problem together. And it's effective and you'll have fun doing it. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Thank you again, Ryan. Everybody be safe. Please be safe and be well, and we'll see you again sometime. Thank you. Oh, let's see.